Hey guys, welcome back to the show today, and I have Jordan Kimmel in the house, in the studio,
Yeah.
and today I really wanted to go over just some success stories. You know, we've now been doing Stretch Mobility Coach at the Beckett Clinic for almost 4 years now,
Yeah.
and you came in, and I already had a full caseload.
Mm-hmm.
And with that caseload, you have grown it, and now we have two full-time stretch mobility coaches. One is an apprentice, and then we have another entire program
Yeah.
that we do in the clinic.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to talk about the clients,
Yes.
and sort of tell, you know, some of their stories to kind of help other PTAs understand the difference that they'll be able to make in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
But before we start there, I want to kind of have you think back to when you were a PTA,
Okay.
okay, and where you were burned out and frustrated, and the system was about to change, and you had the cuts, the Medicare cuts were coming down. You were in orthopedics, and then COVID too. So there was a lot of stuff going on during that time.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about kind of where you were emotionally, financially, and then how
Yeah.
that was about to change and all of that.
I mean, it was scary. I didn't know how secure my job felt, number one. Number two, I was already looking at, okay, what else can I do? Because I was so burnt out, and I was like, there's got to be another way that I can utilize my skill and help people. And then number three, financially, like, I had already been told, like, right before COVID shut us down, that my salary was going down to what it was as a new grad after 5 years in and building that up. But I was going to.
So I want to hit on that for a second,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of people experiencing this, or if they're not experiencing that right now, they're experiencing job losses, layoffs, decreased pay, not getting into a job at all. So I just want to I want to talk about how you felt at that time when you thought, okay, you were 5 or 6 years into your career.
Yep.
And you were making good money for orthopedics.
Yep.
But your employer had said, I'm going to cut it. So how many dollars an hour were you going to get a cut?
Like 3 to 4 an hour.
Okay.
So, but then keep my same
Caseload.
caseload, running the industrial program, and all of that time consuming.
So you had made it to a point financially. Were you at a point where you were happy financially before the change?
No. No.
But
it was doable. Is what I would. It was still my growth, and I felt like, okay, I can keep growing because I haven't capped out yet. But I knew I was getting close to it in outpatient. But I figured the more I took on, the more I would be able to negotiate, I guess. So like I did take on more roles, and like it's the things people didn't want to do. It's like typing up case notes that have to go to a caseworker, a doctor, and you know, all that stuff just for people with workers' comp and things like that.
So you were at the point you were already thinking, hey, I need more financially. I want to grow professionally, and I feel like if I do other tasks besides being a PTA.
Just be a PTA, yeah.
Okay. And then so you got to a decent salary, but you were still on an upward trajectory. You had not hit your ceiling.
Correct.
And then you went below your ceiling.
And then it took me back down, and I was like, wait, so do I not do this anymore? And they're like, oh, no, like, you're going to keep working as a staff. Like, you're going to have your caseload, you're going to still do industrial. And I'm like, these things aren't lining up to me.
Well, you were on a trajectory. I can see how you're like, wait a second, you just pulled my whole professional life out from under me, and now I got to find something
to do yeah.
to at least stay at the financial state you were at right then.
Right. Which is why I added in the personal training certification.
So you went. Let's talk about that. You thought, okay, my next step is personal training.
Because I feel like I could honestly, I had found out that, we were in the back of LA Fitness at the time, and LA Fitness trainers, if you were a personal trainer in there, they averaged like 25 every time they had a client or so, or if they had, So I'm like, well, I'm already in here. Can I pick up extra hours if I decide to get my certification and just do, like, to make up the difference of what I was going to get paid until I found something else?
So you were willing to work your full-time job and work a side hustle
Yeah.
just to be able to make ends meet, to be able to make a higher salary. And that's not unusual. That's what we're seeing right now in our profession is I have people that are working paycheck to paycheck and are doing Uber. They're doing DoorDash after hours
Yeah.
just to earn more money
Yep.
because they love orthopedics and they don't want to stop
Right.
treating, but they have to do something financially. So that's where you were.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk about you did your personal training
Yep.
and then COVID hit.
COVID hit, so I was laid off, so not doing any PT.
And then what were you thinking? I'm going to go down in salary. You're unsure if you're going to get your job back.
Yep. A lot of emotions. It was just scary. I was very anxious. I was very, there were a lot of, I was scared. I didn't know what to think. So I would look very often I'd look for different job postings. A lot of them were sniffs though. And it's like, am I gonna do something? I don't want to take a job that I'm not gonna fully love. That wasn't where my passion was. And so I figured, okay, maybe I can just do personal training. Let me see what this takes to build up. And then I'm like, how do I pull clients? I'm like, oh.
And then you were charging only $25 a session
Yeah.
for an hour session.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? I think that's what everybody does. So I was there, you were there. It's, hey, I can sell for a lot cheaper than a personal trainer.
Not that I wanted to sell less than a personal trainer. I think I just never did the numbers. And to me, I was like, oh, I'll just charge this and people will train with me because they know who I am or they know what I do. Like past, I have friends. I have, a lot of different people that I know. But I was thinking, and here's the downside too, I wasn't valuing myself when I was just a personal trainer. I knew I had a skill set that I could, but I didn't think I could apply my skill set and my hands-on as a personal trainer because I can't. So I felt like I can't offer as much as I would like to, but at least if I can make this hourly wage similar to what I was making, I could make ends meet or it'd be enough extra. So that's where my head went. It wasn't that I was trying to charge less to compete with personal trainers. I think I just didn't know what they charged. I didn't do the research.
And it was a mindset. You just knew that, hey, this was enough.
It was enough for me. I could only provide some of what I knew. And yeah.
And so you decided, I'm going to do a cheaper price because I really don't have a service. In your mind, you're like, I'm a personal trainer and I'm starting out. And if I put myself side by side to other personal trainers, this is what I can do as a personal trainer. Yeah. And so you valued yourself at what you valued yourself at because you were unsure of your service offering.
Yeah.
And what you could do. Okay, so let's fast forward. You applied to the Stretch Mobility Coach. We were Stretch Physical Therapy then, and then we switched over in 2020 to the Stretch Mobility Coach.
Yep.
Let's start talking about some cases. So some of our earlier clients and then some clients that we continue to have.
Yeah.
So we can kind of show everybody how we're different from physical therapy and how we're not repurposing physical therapy.
No.
And we're not doing stretching. Are you stretching people all day?
No, I'm not stretching people. I know our name is Stretch, but I don't stretch people.
All right, so let's talk about Elliot.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So tell us about Elliot, kind of his age.
Yeah. So when I first started seeing him though, how old was he?
He was in high school.
He's 16, 17. He's 16 now, so he was
going to high school.
Yeah, I think he was in junior high. Yeah. So he was probably 13, 14 when I first started seeing him, and how much he's grown. This kid.
So let's talk about so he's pre-high school. He's a baseball pitcher. His goal was to pitch for his school.
Yep.
And he'd been doing baseball. These are the little things I don't know. He'd been doing baseball, I guess, since he was younger.
Yeah.
And he he came to us because his mom knew me and reached out to me and said, hey, I've already been to the doctor. We've already been to physical therapy. He has a back fracture.
Yep.
And that fracture, we had to get clearance from Stacy so that we could treat him with our method. And she kind of directed the programming because he had already been to PT.
Yep.
But his ultimate goal was to be able to pitch for high school, and he was lead pitcher. First, what do you call it? First string pitching?
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyways, okay.
Started, yeah.
So this was, he had already been out for a few months, and his mom was concerned that he wasn't going to be able to play his first year of baseball with the school. Okay. So we worked with him,
Yes.
and would he have gotten what he needed with just PT? Like if you were back in your orthopedic job and you were given him as a client, would he be able to get back to pitching the way he is today?
I think he would be out a lot more than what he would be. Like, I think, like, he would have ongoing off and on issues is what I would say. Or flare-ups or pain or I don't think that I could have done as a PTA what we've done as stretch mobility coaches.
Yeah, because we look at the body differently.
Just so differently.
We test the body differently, and we test each treatment, and then we treat in a way different way than we could as PT. So he'd already been to PT. They discharged him. Mom was like, he'll never play baseball again.
She was very concerned. She's like, he has these exercises. Can you look at what he's doing at home and make sure they're okay?
That were they basic? Tell us about the exercises he was left with.
The exercises he was left with were kind of a combination of what your typical you'd be given, but they were honestly too high level for where he was at and his body was at. So I kind of had to show him where that wouldn't be a good exercise for him, and this is why. And I mean, they were your typical, but it wasn't functional that would have gotten him back to pitching, I guess.
So I'm going to break that down a little bit because it is hard to explain what we do, and we won't go into how we do things here. But so Elliot had an active fracture, and that fracture needed to heal. We needed to make sure that we could maintain joint mobility above and below that fracture, and that when he did pitch again, that force was not placed there, that he would refracture. So our treatment looked at all of his joints and made sure he was fully mobile, and then refired muscles because we found things that turn off again.
Oh, absolutely.
They turn off, turn off, turn off, turn off, and then motor responses are changed. So we put him through the stretch method and the methodology, but during that time, he was approved for wellness and well care.
Yep.
We used our methodology, and he started regaining strength in his back, his hips. So where when he finished physical therapy, he was given exercises, those exercises were not deemed appropriate by us because he was able to do them only with compensation.
Yes. Yes.
So once we finished and got him through getting everything moving better and stronger, we were able to progress him.
And he can do those exercises now, yeah.
Yeah, so now he's
and higher level and
correct. So this is sort of after PT, post PT, well care. We're working on a preventative program, and we're looking at his body in a different way than we would in PT. So fast forward, it took him about how long to go through that whole process?
I bet we had to program him for at least 4 to 6 months, minimally. And then he was able to get into a maintenance program where we see him once a month.
Okay. So then it took him about that long, and where is he at right now?
He starts as he's a sophomore or a junior?
He'll be a junior
next year?
Next year he'll be a junior. I think he's a sophomore.
He's sophomore, and he's playing some JV, but they're pulling him up to start varsity some games to pitch.
Yeah.
So,
and what is his pitching speed?
Oh my gosh, his velocity.
And he in the 90s?
He is.
Yeah.
80s, 90s.
His form
I'd have to
went
pull it up.
from he was kind of floppy everywhere to now
He's
he
able
has
to-
stability
he has better
and form.
He's able to get into the positions he needs to without putting that stress and strain on that where the fracture was. So
And he's fully healed, and the muscles that would have gone dormant and gone through a deconditioning cycle and continued to go through a deconditioning cycle for many, many years, we were able to rebuild and reprogram, which is
Yep.
really cool. He's had to come back
for
because
shoulder,
shoulder and other.
elbow.
hmm
But honestly, even that, like, we've gotten that to a point where it's better. It's not 100% yet, but we're working on it. So
I don't know that this kid would have had a chance to play just being left with the exercises. He could have done those every day for the rest of his
and it
life.
still wouldn't have. I don't know that it would have healed.
No.
Honestly, with how he would dip and it compensate, it was putting pressure right on that fracture site. So
Okay, so let's talk about somebody else.
Yes.
So what about Brenda? Brenda's in her
yes,
60s, late 60s.
yeah,
But she started with me in her late 50s.
mm-hmm.
Her family has a history. Her dad was, I don't think there's a diagnosis for what she has, but her muscles are constantly in a tone,
Yes.
tight position. She couldn't abduct her hips at all. She didn't have any. I actually gave up on her many times and thought she needed a hip replacement, and she told me,
She's like, nope, you keep doing it.
you keep doing what you're doing. I believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
So she hung in there, even though we didn't know, and I really thought she needed a hip replacement. Her goal was to be able to get on her horse.
Yep.
She bought a big house, built out a huge barn, and she has multiple horses,
Little ponies.
little ponies, ducks.
Ducks.
She needs to be able to get down and feed the animals. She needs to be
Yep.
able to clean the stalls, and she wants to ride her horse,
Yep.
which she couldn't get on because she couldn't spread her legs apart far
Yes.
enough. She was a challenge,
Yeah,
but she was dedicated.
she's so dedicated.
So we saw her for the stretch method, and gosh, she's been coming back and forth for maintenance for about 10 years. And she told me one time, she goes, if I wouldn't have come to you guys, I'd be in a wheelchair now. I wouldn't be functioning
Because
at
her
all.
mom was in a wheelchair, correct? Or no? Her
No, it would, she's like her dad.
Okay.
She's more like her
Okay.
dad. So let's talk about what she can do now. So she feeds the horses.
She feeds them. She cleans the stalls. She's been able to get on her horse and ride. And she also, I mean, before she got to the point of getting on the horse and riding, she ended up purchasing a side cart, so that she could still ride the horse and help train the horse and all of that. But no, she's been able to get on her horse, and then she literally she used to see us pretty consistently too for a while. And then she has times where now she's once a month or so we see her and touch base, and she was able to walk her horse like 1.5 miles around this. I don't know what it was for exactly, because she was telling Juanita, and literally had no pain. Usually she would walk so far and she'd have to sit because she was in some pain. So it was just really
there was
amazing
not a
to
joint
see that.
in her body that was moving.
Yeah, no.
I mean, her thoracic spine, her lumbar spine, her hips, her pelvis, everything
You're
was
still so stiff, nothing segmental,
nothing disassociated, nothing was turned on. All the muscles were pretty much not working.
atrophied. Yeah.
So she's worked really hard, and she is living a better life because she saw a stretch mobility coach.
Yeah.
Sam, what about Sam? Let's
Okay.
talk about Sam.
Sam came to us finally after a year of convincing. No. So he had done everything. Sam's a runner, and he was having a ton of knee pain, and he couldn't even run 1 mile anymore, or a half mile. He would have knee, sharpshooting pains. He went to orthopedic, and they did x-rays, couldn't find anything wrong. Did an MRI, and they're like, you have a little inflammation in your patella tendon, jumper's knee. So sent him to PT. PT saw him. It would feel better. It was less painful when he walked, but he still never got back to running. So it did help decrease his pain, but his ultimate goals were still not met. So he finally gave us a try, and
I remember it was like 3 treatments, and he gave us a Google review.
Yeah, 3 and like amazing. Like that he could feel the difference that we were doing. And then I will say, like, fast forward 5 months later, 6 months later, he's been so dedicated. He's worked so hard. He does his exercises. Anything you tell him that he needs to do, he's on it. He wants to get better. He finally was able to he started training again and running, and he was able to hit certain mileage points that he signed up for the 10K pig. And
this is a guy that couldn't even run a 5K without pain. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to get that out there. Couldn't run a 5K.
Couldn't run a mile without pain.
Okay.
And so we got him back to, like, he's able to run again. He was doing Peloton, and even Peloton he get some pain with it sometimes. So we got him back, and he was able to do the 10K with really good like a 52-minute 30-second time, like,
and no pain.
Like, he did great.
And then did he come in afterwards? Was
Yes.
he locked down afterwards, or was he doing better afterwards?
He actually maintained pretty well. Yeah,
Good.
Not super locked down. I mean, I think he had some travel in between, so, like, it had been, like, we saw him right before it, and then it was, like, a week or 10 days after. So, yeah, no, he held up really well.
That's good. That's good. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, you can't go a mile. You've already tried and exhausted going to PT, you go to the doctor, you follow all those steps, and then you just feel like
you're just told you have this diagnosis that you don't need surgery, you don't need an injection, you don't need it. There's nothing else we have for you, but you just have this, and you'll get better. Just strengthen.
Yeah, just keep going. You know, I'm gonna.
And you can look up exercises, but if you don't know,
they don't know what to do, and
No.
then what do you do, and how do you know if it's right, and then. There are things you have to do besides. It's not just the exercises that make us good at what we do.
Yeah,
it's our methodology.
For sure.
I'm going to jump up and throw one out that you're not aware of. So I have a neighbor, and she has had 2 total knee replacements, and she knows about my place, but I'm doing everything they tell me to do, and she is doing everything conventional health care is telling her to do. Mm-hmm. She had the 2 total knee replacements. She's gone through her rehab. She's walking 3 or 4 miles a day. She just bought a bike.
Okay.
She has 3 steps to get in her front door. She couldn't get up her steps by herself. There was no railing, so somebody had to help in her front door. She can finally do that. She's not coming to us. I just want to show you a picture of a trajectory of someone who is not coming to us. And I doubt she will, because she's totally I'm on the right track. I don't need any help, okay? So she's not even our target client. Here's the sad part, and this would break your heart. We're going into the house this weekend, and she's got a new bike, and we kind of say something to her and say, hey, she's got her helmet on. She's in probably her 70s. And my husband says hey to her, and she's so excited, and she fell. She couldn't even stop the bike. Couldn't even stop the bike. She goes, I'll get it. I'm getting up and down my stairs, so I have no problem. I'll start and stop this bike. She's going really slow because of the mobility in her knees, which is really sad. She couldn't get up. It took 4 of us. It took 4 of us to get her off of the ground. She wasn't hurt. She was totally fine. But she totally said, I know that I'm stronger already. I'm doing my exercises that the doctors tell me that I'm going to do. But it took 4 people to get her off of the ground. And her goal is to ride that bike and get good enough with that bike. We're talking about a bike that's on a road that has concrete that...
Oh my gosh.
It's the most unsafe situation you can ever imagine. But for her, for a stretch mobility coach, we could put together a program that would allow her to at least get down to the floor, get back up from the floor safely, and get her on a bike and get her safely doing a bike. But guys, people are out there right now, and they think, my doctor told me I'd be able to ride a bike, I just need to keep trying. But she's going to end up with a broken hip.
Yeah, that'll be her next one. Falling.
I mean, literally, she's biking like this, and she's confident that it's just going to get better.
Road bike like that too.
Yeah. So I'm nervous because she's my neighbor, and I know I'll do whatever I can for her. But that is the mindset that people have, that they have faith in our healthcare system, and our healthcare system is wonderful. We don't bash our healthcare system. However, there are missing components where you need help.
Yep.
And we have built the programming out for that next step of help. Mm-hmm. So, I want to talk about Richard. So
Okay.
Richard was in his 70s.
Yep. Yeah, I think he was turning 75 when he came to us. It was like his
Okay.
75th birthday or something. Or
If I remember correctly, this story,
Mm-hmm.
he had been going to chiropractic for years, loves
Yep.
his chiropractor, and this chiropractor is one of the best ones in our area. But his hip or back.
It was his hip,
Hip-
that he
hip.
wanted to see us for. So much pain in his hip.
He couldn't, even though he was going to, was he going to massage too?
I can't remember right now.
Well, he was going to a chiro. His hip wasn't getting any better, but he felt like his back was getting better.
Yeah.
He found us. He came to us. I want to be honest. I think I did the testing on his very, very, very first one, or maybe he was on your schedule and you asked me to look at his hip.
He was on my schedule, and I saw him, and I was like, Kim, I gotta talk to you because, like, there's a firm
It's a firm infield.
infield.
So I felt it, and I thought this guy has to have surgery. Like I knew he had to have surgery, and he didn't meet the criteria for regenerative treatments or
like
anything.
PRP and stuff
Right.
like that.
He was like a -10 from 0 internal rotation. I contacted Stacy,
Yeah.
and we talked to Stacy, and Stacy said, you know, these are the things you can do, these are the things you can't do under the stretch method.
Mm-hmm.
We followed that. We also did a few other things which we can do in our clinic, and he gained further than you and I ever thought he
Thought
would
that
have
he
gained.
could.
I mean, so number one, he avoided hip replacement.
Yep.
Number two, we made his back and his hip better.
Stronger, yeah.
And then I think his back, it was
back.
all coming from his back. So his back wasn't doing well, and we knew that he wasn't strong enough. And he had really worked hard, but
Oh, yeah.
his back was not already there. And he did something, and he threw his back out.
Yes.
Went to his chiropractor.
Yep.
Chiropractor said, you need to go to an ortho. Kind of gave up on him.
Did.
Completely gave
Yeah.
up on him and went, it's time for surgery. You need to go down the surgery route. And we weren't convinced because he was doing so good before his back went out.
Yeah.
So we had him come back in. We worked on his back and really focused on it
Yep.
because he had been through the hip stuff. And that guy,
Blew my mind. Like, he was dedicated. He was determined. He was like, no, you guys can do this.
and I wasn't.
And we were like,
Okay.
we're going to do everything we can.
and
Just show
we worked very, very closely with Stacy, made sure we followed our parameters and our lane, but this guy avoided hip replacement, avoided back surgery, and then rebuilt it totally to where he's on
He's
a
out dancing. He sings our praises. He is, yeah, he has a house in Naples. He goes and stays at during the winter months and is able to do all the things. I think he golfs, doesn't he?
I think he golfs.
Yeah. And I was like, you do? No, right away. No, now he can. Absolutely. So,
So yeah, that was
he
he was one I really didn't think.
I was nervous. I was like, There were people I was like, okay, I know I need to talk to Stacey about him, but I'm also, Kim, you look too. Kim, take a double look. And then she's like, yeah, we're going to.
I totally
Just
thought he was
follow.
a hip replacement.
Yeah.
And in physical therapy, in traditional physical therapy, I would have really, the therapist probably would have sent him in for hip replacement.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would have sent him in for a hip replacement. And
I
we just followed our methodology and the programming, and
trusted the process, and
he got it
it's
back.
yeah,
He was amazing.
yeah,
He was
He was.
amazing. All right, let's have time. Maybe one more. You
Yeah.
think you have time for?
yeah.
Let's talk about a dancer. So
Yeah.
Jillian
Yes.
was probably 15, 16.
She was 16. Yeah,
Dancer.
dance all of her life though. Started so young.
Very hypermobile.
Very hypermobile. Had a lot of right-sided pain in her lower back and hip.
Stacy looked at her
Stacy looked at her.
and made sure she didn't have a fracture. We went
Yes.
through all of that stuff because there are certain parameters that we have to follow, within our certification too. So Stacy looked at all of that. She didn't have an active fracture. She was totally cleared for well care.
Yep.
And we built out her programming. She was with us
Oh man, at least since
all through high school through her,
September of 2020.
probably.
Yeah.
probably.
So a lot of her high school, I would say I was at sophomore, junior, senior year of high school, or junior, senior of
Probably.
high school, and then we saw her some college too.
So
And-
she was very hypermobile. Nothing moved in the low back or the pelvis at all. She was totally not stable.
Everything moved together. She
Compensated
couldn't
a lot.
do her.
What is that called? You go up in the air and you do a split.
Like a split
in the
jump.
air.
I don't know. Yeah, I forget what that's called.
We have a
It's
picture
not the
of that.
Arabesque. Yes, it's amazing.
So she was like about 45 degrees, and then after seeing us, she was out in the air able to do a full split.
And then the third year, so like, fortunately for us, we got to see this process and progress because they did the same routine like a couple years in a row, like around the same time. So she showed us the photo from before seeing us, and she's what, like the 45 degree, like Kim was saying. And then after seeing us the first year, she's here. And then she did it again, and she was even up high, like she could split even further. I was like, I didn't know you could get better than that. Like, that
And
was
then
crazy to
she
me.
was pretty amazing because she went through maintenance. She worked really hard to get through because
Yeah.
even with her high level, these girls dance how many hours a day?
Oh my gosh, like 4 to 6, I don't know. Like, it depends on the day. Some of their days it's like half days, whole days. Some of the days it's like after school they have practice for at least 3 hours or so. Like,
And we found that these girls, they go through dancing and then the next day or 2 weeks later, they can't do the same moves that they did because they're in an active deconditioning cycle. So we go in and we have to test and retest after every time. So we kept her going through that time and strong and mobile during that time.
Yep.
And then she went on to strength training.
oh my gosh, she's put so much muscle on. I'm so proud of her. And she's like, I didn't realize how like much easier her flips are, her back handsprings and all that kind of stuff. She's like, it would have been so much easier if I would have had this much strength before. Like,
And it's not just the strengthening part. We get
Right.
people in and we try to, most people think that, oh, I'm just weak and it's just weakening. But it is, you have to look at so much more. And that's what we do as stretch mobility coaches.
because shoot, I strength train and I have
Tell
my
them your story.
own issues. The first year I trained for my half. Is
Yep,
that?
yep.
I was gonna sign up for a half in October to run with my sister, and I started doing my runs in June just to see kind of where I was at. I know I didn't have to like be on a certain mileage at that point, but I wanted to see kind of what I was doing and if I could do it. I was hitting 8 miles, 9 miles, 10 miles, and then all of a sudden my hip is like, feels like I can't, like it hurts when I walk. If I take a step, I'm like, did I tear my labrum because I'm tight? Or what did I do? Like, I know I have a chronic back issue, but I literally, like, it would hurt even when I'm working on clients. Like, when I demonstrate something, I'm like, I can't even kick this on to show you. And, like, that was so weird because I worked so hard at, like, I know what needs to work. I know all these things in my head, but, like, my body wasn't doing it. And
that's because it is turned off. We do find that when there is a change, that pathway, that motor response is slower, and the brain actually kind of shuts that off. It doesn't need it anymore. So
Yeah.
honestly, had you not known, you would have, if we wouldn't have worked on you at all, where do you feel like you would be?
I still would have probably, I don't know. Like, it took, from June, it took till August till I could run without pain.
And
So
you work
if-
out how many times a week? Strength training,
4
flexibility.
to 6.
Yeah.
4 to 6.
And no matter what you were doing.
And then that's the strength training part. Like, I do cardio on those other days. Like, days off is maybe like one every couple weeks. No matter what I was doing, it wasn't getting better. I was pushing through pain. It was pinchy. It was uncomfortable, but I couldn't stop. Like, I lowered my weights, but I don't know how long that would have taken if I would have waited longer and didn't know what we had here. Even I think my friend asked me, like, well, can't your old boss work on you? Because I was back home, and I was like, so I live 30 minutes away, and she lives closer to me, and I'm like, no, because I'd be trying to tell her what to do. Like,
You'd have to show her everything.
I'd have to
that
show
she'd
her
have to do.
everything. Yeah, and I was like, because I knew that I just needed Kim to work on me. I needed a stretch mobility coach is what I needed.
And I think you got to a point one day, and I had to tell you to trust the process because you're like, it's still not turned on, and I'm like, you just have to trust
Yes.
the process because it's a process of us finding things and following the methodology, and the methodology, you were finally able to reload that again, and
Yep.
now it's turned back on. You don't have a problem,
Yeah.
but you have to maintain it. If you stopped everything right now,
Oh yeah.
you would have a problem.
I would probably have a problem. Yes. Oh, for
Well,
sure.
well, I think it's cool. So tell me, so Jordan is our lead coach. She's the only one that's gone through level 3 of the training. She's more in the expert status. She also runs the Beckett Clinic, and you have an apprentice under you, and then you have a new program that is a reconditioning specialist under you. And then we do some other cool things in our facility.
Yeah.
Where you're at right now in your career, do you feel like you're hitting a ceiling?
No, I'm not hitting a ceiling yet. No, I don't see a ceiling because of all the areas of growth and directions in which we go with the stretch mobility coach, and there's so many opportunities out there. Like with the stretch mobility coach and having the certification that I have now, I don't feel like I have reached any amount of limit. Like there's so much more to learn. There's so much more that we're doing, and there's so many directions I feel like you can go with it. Like
I think there's so many avenues.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That it is, and it's really neat to see clients that we don't even know it's going to help, and then to think, oh my gosh, this helped them, because we weren't shown any of this stuff. We didn't thoroughly understand, or we weren't given the chance to provide a longer program.
Correct.
And then if we did, it was like throwing darts at the wall.
Yeah. We didn't know. I mean, having a method and something that's been proven to work, we actually have something to follow. Where in PT, like, we are given from the PT, we're giving these exercises and, do these things or protocols post-surgery, but those are to get them so far. And then it's like, oh, now your insurance is up, so see ya. Like,
we get to pick them up and take them to the next level.
We get to help them get back to actually doing what they need to do and doing the things they enjoy. So,
and it's fulfilling.
It is so fulfilling, because you just see like people who just lose hope and like they don't feel that they'll ever be able to do those things that they love. And I enjoy running. Like, I want to go run. I want to do those things, and it's not even just for there's hobbies for a reason. You don't want to just live to work or live to manage your pain. You want to enjoy life. So traveling, all the things.
Right, for sure. So if you were talking to someone who is a PTA and they've hit their ceiling and they don't know whether this is a good program for them or not, how would you compare this with going down a route of maybe going to be a physical therapist? Maybe I'm going to stop and I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to be a physical therapist.
It depends on what setting you're in, and even then I don't think it depends. You're going to go back to school, so are you going to have to still work so you can afford to go back to school, and you're going to be in school, so are you also a mom or not? You know what I mean? There's so many things. The debt that you get in going back to be a PT, I don't even want to think about, number one. Number two, like when you don't need to. Like, you can go get a certification where I don't see a ceiling pushing down on me with what I can do in my limits with skill and growth, financial, like there are so
You're
many
making what
things.
a PT makes now, higher than a PT.
Yeah. So I think there's still limits as a PT, like especially even if you open your own, then you got to figure out what your niche is and then provide that to a client. Like, there's so many things that I feel like if I went back, and I thought about going back right away before I did my personal training. I was like, how do I make more money? But even then, you're going to be a PT and you have this doctorate and you also have $100,000 plus in debt, and you're trying to figure out, okay, now I'm supposed to get paid more because I have this doctorate. I don't know. That doesn't sound like the route for me.
Right.
Personally.
And then personal training, you ended up dropping your personal training.
I didn't drop it. I actually kept it just because I decided it was too easy to maintain.
There you go.
Honestly, it's easy to maintain. Just keep it, because I was going to drop it, but to be honest, I didn't pay that much for it. It doesn't cost that much to maintain it.
So why not?
free
It's a
to
credential.
use. It's
Yeah.
a credential. It's something, and honestly, I kind of enjoy the articles that I read on those sites just to compare with some of the things I like and I could take and pull information from, and some things it's just food for thought. And I like to take tests, and not tests, but like I like to like
learn.
push myself and to learn. Yes,
Which I think is
So-
great because then you're very integrated with the fitness side of things too.
Yeah.
And so personal training alone, how would you compare what you're doing now to when you were doing personal training?
Yeah, that was going to be, I don't even know how long that would have taken me to actually build up, figure out where and where I was going to be. There was no, there was no security in it to me. I would have needed to go be hired by a gym or somewhere, and I don't think I could have done like the self-employed part. I can't even compare that because I don't see I don't think that would have been as successful and as quick. You know what I mean? Like getting my certification as a stretch mobility coach. It literally was the things I've always dreamed about wanting to do, like working in a medically oriented gym or, taking clients who are kind of past the surgery point, but they're not quite there yet. Like you had it all pieced together, and it was the things I have dreamt of doing, and she's already had it done. And I'm like, this is where I need to be. Like that was exactly everything I've looked to do and wanted to do. And I just, for me, like I don't even want to think about how long that would have taken me as a personal trainer where I couldn't utilize my license. I probably would have let my license, I don't think I would have let it go, but I'd be like, why do I have this? Like if I can't use it, you know what I mean?
Right.
I would have been really stuck and
Gotcha.
torn, where now I feel there's just, I get to utilize my skill. I didn't go to school for nothing. You know what I mean? That type of thing either.
And where you are in the pecking order of physical therapy, chiropractic, stretch mobility coach, a yoga instructor, like you can confidently stand beside a chiropractor.
Yeah.
And chiropractors come in and refer to you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you refer back to chiropractic.
Absolutely.
So it gave you a lane and an expert status without having to go back to school and become a doctor.
Right. Which is amazing. Like that's unreal. Like that blows my mind. Blows my mind.
We get
That's
to see
so
chiropractors
cool.
all the time.
We do. We
yeah.
see them.
They've all kind of felt like, they've already gone through, they've done what they can do, they've worked with their friends, they've gone to physical therapy, they've gone to doctors, they've tried this and that. It didn't work, and then coming to us.
And not that it didn't work, it got them to a certain point, but they're still experiencing these things, and so now they're seeing us and they're able to make some progress forward. So, yeah, it's pretty cool to see that, and like to have that backing then, because then they refer to us as well. And then vice versa, as soon as I have someone who's looking or we can get to them, I mean, we complement each other so well that it's a revolving door. Not revolving, but
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And we have a distinct path,
Yes.
which is really cool, which
Yes.
we know when
We know
someone
when
needs
someone
physical
needs it.
therapy,
Yep.
and we can refer them out, and we know someone who's ready to go to fitness,
Yep.
and that we're confident that they're not going to injure themselves if
Yeah.
they would just go into the fitness side.
Right. So it's
Okay.
really fun. Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
I think we hit on a lot. Yeah.
That's
I'm
it.
thankful for you.
Oh, I'm thankful for you. All right, guys, thanks for joining us today. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have questions or comments, please put them below. If you want to schedule a call to see if this is a career field that you want, then I would love to talk to you about that on a career coaching call. It's a free 15-minute call, and I'll put the link below. But thanks for joining me,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we'll do this again soon.
Yeah. Sounds good.
See you guys.